Welcome to the Global Peace Film Festival Lives Online Conversation 2023 Festival Edition. Please join me, Kelly Devine, the Artistic Director, and Nina Strike, the Founder and Festival Director, in conversation with the filmmaker Waad Al-Kateab behind the film We Dare to Dream, which you can see as a part of the upcoming Global Peace Film Festival. All the information about the upcoming events and screenings can be found at peacefilmfest.org. And now let's welcome Waad to the conversation. Waad, thank you so much for joining us today and for your amazing film.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it is a really beautiful and inspiring film about something I did not know about the subject of the film, which you will tell us. I'm not going to say it first, but tell us about the film.
So We Dare to Dream is a story about the refugee Olympics team. It's a team who proudly represent millions of refugees around the world. They go to the Olympics games as any other national team. They are coming from different countries, they speak different languages, they have different stories behind them and behind why they became refugees, but they have one thing to share, which is the pain of that journey, but also the dreams that they all have within the Olympics, but also within their life and their future. The film follows 5 of these amazing athletes who I've learned personally so much from, and who's inspiring me today.
So Waad, can you tell us how, as a filmmaker, you came to know about this particular issue and establish a relationship with these particular athletes?
To be honest, I've heard the first time about the team in 2016 when it was the first time the team was out in the world. They were competing in the Olympics in Rio. And at that time in 2016, I was in besieged Aleppo. I was under shelling and bombing. And we didn't really know a lot about the war, but as something and someone who we feel like they present us in that situation, I've heard about the team and I felt that wow, this is really amazing idea, especially that I know that there's so many refugees coming out from Syria, before that from Afghanistan, from Iran, from so many different countries. And I just love that, they are thinking of us as someone who is on the table, we have a seat on the table. But then I haven't had any chance, to know anything about it until I finished for Sama, and I was looking for what I want to do next when a friend of mine called me and he said, there's this team, we want to do a story about it. What do you think? And to be honest, at the beginning, I'm not a sport person. I'm not good at sport at all. And I was really hesitated because I know nothing. I've never even watched the Olympics as someone. So I was like, I am not sure if I want to do this. But I was so interested in their refugee story, how they come and, where they come from, what happened with them. And when I've just read a couple of stories, what was already out on the media, I just felt like this is very, very important. And this is gonna really change the story of being a refugee. And the other thing with this is I became refugee at the year of making for Sama. So I've been through similar journey, I would call it, when, I just came and survived. And at the same time, I felt that I was representing Syrians all over the world and refugees at the same time, as I was like a refugee director nominated for an Oscar. And that big responsibility and that journey shaped a lot of who I am and what I've lost and what I'm dreaming of. And I think, I've felt the same when I read these guys' stories and what they are trying to do here. And I just felt so connected. I just wanted to follow them and to know everything and to try to tell their stories. And it was really something I would say like made me understand a lot of my own journey and to process, you know, what does it mean to be a refugee and what does it mean to start my life from scratch. It was just like something I think helped me a lot across the years.
Oh, and definitely people will be very inspired by the stories of these different athletes. But you mentioned, you know, that you were yourself not a big sports fan starting out. And you also mentioned that you had learned so much. So could you talk a little bit about what surprised you along this journey?
I mean, as someone coming from Syria, you know, I'm fully aware of some of the countries like issues, you know, like Afghanistan, Iran, but I've never like met or like spoke with anyone coming from Africa, from different Cameroon, for an example. And for me, you know, when we came together and started just like getting to know each other at the beginning, it was just surprising for me how much similar like maybe the journey is totally different, but we have so much similarities. We share so much. And you know, when you don't know these people, or sometimes you don't even speak the same language, but just, you know, starting this conversation was something like for me open up so much things and put for me more responsibility than the one I was carrying at the beginning. But also it let me I think question and also thinking about so much stuff I've been through and I've never like, you know, opened up even with myself. One of the athletes, she has a baby, and like it's very different story, but we both were talking, ended up with us, you know, talking about how we miss our children, you know, when we had to do the journey. Like she had to leave her boy for I think like more than 2 years, and I had to leave my second child behind in Turkey for 6 months when I moved to the UK. So there was a lot of like different, you know, element in the story. But for me, that story, like I've tried since I got my daughter with me, I've never looked back at that story. I've never wanted to look back at that story. But for me, it had, you know, changed something in me looking at my personal journey and what I've been through. And they are very inspiring, you know, like there's so much dreams and like humor and amazing, like, you know, conversation with them, which for me, like I feel like I was really lucky to come into this project and find them as my friends now.
Oh, that's wonderful. And as I was listening to you and thinking, you know, about what it takes to be an athlete at that level, something I will never experience myself, but I think what connects even someone like myself who's not particularly athletic is the optimism that is inherent in the dedication that they display, that they, in order to reach their full potential as athletes, they have to have a very strong, positive view of the future. Do you feel that that's?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. You know, I think this is something, yeah, stood out for me and also stood out for me when I look at my story, you know, and how I was like acting sometimes to some things. But also I was very like impressed how hard they work and how hard they stand up every time, you know, like they have like a hurdle or a big problem or an issue, and we've seen this, we've experienced this so much in the film, you know, while we were making this film with them. And you know, like I think that's what keeps them going, and that's what we all learn, you know, from what they've been through. Because every one of them had to take very hard decision at some point, and if they don't have faith, if they don't have hope, they will never be able to be where they are now. And whether they won like medal or not, they proudly, you know, represent so many people around the world.
Ah, that's such an inspiring thought, and it's definitely, you know, the when people get a chance to see this film, and I really recommend that everyone seek this film out wherever they can, if they miss it at the upcoming festival. That the central mission of our festival is to inspire people so that they can not just simply enjoy the craftsmanship of the filmmaking, which they will definitely find when they see your film, but also to find something that they take back into their own lives, into their own communities, to make the world a better place. And so if you could speak to the intentionality around why you want to get this story out.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of things changed since I decided to do the story until the story was out. And one of the main big things happened was Ukraine, and the war against Ukraine, and the new wave of refugees all over the world and in Europe and in the UK. And I think my own journey taught me that anyone's life could turn upside down. And that's what we've seen today. And then, before that was also COVID, and then the earthquake in Syria and Turkey, and, like the climate change, so many issues around the world, which really are changing our lives and might change so many people's lives. And the fact that, like when you are standing against something way big than what you can do, and like you have to survive, you have to find your way to survive. And it's not just about like sitting where you are, looking around and being inspired and trying to do something different. It's really when you have to do that, when you have to stand, when you have to find your way out. And inspiring is something really important, but also surviving, and be able to find a new way sometimes, even when there's no way out. Like we have to have that resilience, we have to find our way. And I think that's exactly why I felt this story like taught me a lot, and it will teach so many people, and will inspire so many people. But also I think the most important thing for me was to find the people who feel represented by these people. Today there's millions of refugees all over the world, over 100 million people, 120 million people right now. These people now they're not like, I hate that, all stereotyping with the or being labeled, how people would see this. But again, Ukraine, taught the world that anyone could be a refugee. And the way how we want people to deal with us is the same way how we have to deal back to other people. And I mean, the only way for us to survive this madness today is to come together. And that's, what we should look at, and that's how we should feel like as a humans. So yeah, I hope really people would take a lot from this film. And for me, it was an honor to be able to be just with them and to learn so much from them.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful film, and thank you for it. We're so happy to be able to share it in the Global Peace Film Festival. And not only the athletes, but your part in the film is also incredibly important in terms of linking the issue between these elite athletes who we look up to in the film, and the everyman, the every woman refugee, which you represented in the film. So again, it's a really beautiful film, and thank you for that. So in closing, a couple of questions. First of all, how can people support this film and your work? I also would like to ask you, you talked about your first film, For Sama, which was nominated for an Academy Award. And if you can talk a little bit about that, and also what's next for you.
Yeah, thank you, Nina. So my first film, For Sama, was the story of my life, of 5 years of fighting and trying to find a way in Syria under the shelling and the bombing, to keep the dream of us, the dream of a democratic and free Syria alive, and try to keep fighting for that. I was displaced from Aleppo in 2016 by the Russian attacks on the city. and I became refugee 2 years after that. So for me, that story was very important to show the world what was going on in Syria, but also to keep my city and my life alive in some way or another. Then, like after, for Sama and the amazing success that the film had, we were focusing a lot on campaigning and doing advocacy around Syria, around what's going on there. And it's followed now to be also around, unfortunately, Syria and Ukraine, with the attacks by the Russian air forces and army. So with this film now, I really feel like it's a continuous journey. It's the next, challenge in my life and in so many other people's lives. What's next for me is also something really important to me, and to my experience. My family today lives in Turkey. Part of my family lives in Syria, and they were both hit by the earthquake in February early this year. And it changed so many people's lives. And I feel that the world didn't have enough attention to that big massacre and crime, with the earthquake. And I'm trying to tell some of my friends' story in the earthquake. And it just, a new trauma we had to carry, and a new fight we had to do and to stand again, with everything happened. So I hope I really would love to make more films, more stories, to change people's minds and hearts as well. And I'm so excited and honored and happy to be also, showing We Dare to Dream with your festival. And I can't wait to hear what people would think about it.
Oh, well, thank you, Waad. Truly, thank you for your generosity, sharing these inspirational stories of your own life and of these athletes. So Nina and I thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to everyone who watched today's Glow. If you want to learn more information about We Dare to Dream, you can go to the website WeDareToDreamMovie.com. That's WeDareToDreamMovie, all one word, .com. And if you would like to find out how to see the film at our upcoming festival, please visit peacefilmfest.org for all the details. Our in-person programming begins September 19th and ends September 23rd. Then our virtual programming begins September 25th and ends October the 1st. Again, all the information and details about all of our programming can be found at peacefilmfest.org. Thank you, and we'll see you at the next Glow.